Have you ever been locked in, you're motivated, you're crushing it on the erg or on the water, and then all of a sudden you just wake up one day and it's gone, and you don't know how to get it back? We're going to talk about motivation today. My name's Dr. David Schary. I'm a former rower and coach. Now I'm a sports psychology professor, and I help rowers, coxswains, and teams overcome mental challenges and become more mentally tough. So let's go ahead and jump into motivation. The problem when you think you lose motivation is that you actually didn't lose motivation, or I should say that's not the problem. That's not the underlying issue. The problem was you were relying on that motivation to show up every day or to push yourself when things are hard or when you didn't want to. See, most people think that the recipe for success is motivation inspires action, which then inspires results. So they might say things like, if I felt more motivated, I'd be more consistent. Or if I was just more motivated, I'd be able to get on the erg and just, reach my PR, crush it. That's a common phrase that I hear rowers and teams, coaches even say all of the time. But what actually happens, I guess in reality, is that motivation, it's fleeting because it's a feeling. It's more related to an emotion, let's say, than a thought. We can't rely on motivation all of the time because these feelings, they vary based off of a lot of external factors, like how much sleep did you get? How much stress are you under? What's the weather outside? What's your mood? Did you wake up on the right side of the bed? Is it raining? Is it cold? All of these things can affect your motivation to want to do whatever you have to do in practice, or even to want to wake up and do the race that you have to do later that day. The problem here is if you are waiting for motivation, you are waiting for your brain to cooperate. And that may not happen as often as you want, and it may not happen ever, depending on, the time of life or the season that you're in. So then what do? Well, we have to understand what the real relationship is. The real relationship is values, things that are important to you, and we'll get into that in a moment. That inspires you to take action, which then leads to results, which then maybe sometimes leads to motivation. But that's just a happy byproduct if it happens. We are much more concerned with just getting the results, making you achieve what you know that you can achieve. This isn't pushing past where you should push. It's not trying to get you injured or trying to do something that's just, silly. It's just knowing that if we wait to do anything hard to when the stars are aligned and we feel good, we might be waiting forever. So action comes first and motivation sometimes follows, but we aren't going to wait around for motivation to come. We are going to get ourselves up and going and determined and putting in the work, regardless of if we feel like we want to or if we don't. Because motivation is not the driver, it's our values and the things that we find important. That might sound all well and good, but how do we do this? How do we put this into practice? Well, it starts with understanding that discipline is a skill. Just like everything else that we've talked about in this series, discipline is a skill, and just like your stroke, it can be improved. It can be enhanced. So right now, your automatic brain or your racing brain might have learned, if I don't feel like doing something, I'm not going to do it. If you're confused here about the automatic racing brain and what I mean by that, please go back and listen to the first video in this series about pushing yourself through pain, because I give a good introduction to what I mean by automatic and racing brain, and I use those two interchangeably. So if your racing brain, if your automatic brain has learned, if I don't feel like doing something, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to slam the brakes, that's not a weakness. That's not a character flaw in that sense. It's just the way that you have gotten trained, and we just need to untrain that and install a better way of doing it. And again, like any mental skill, this can be retrained, and I really want you to understand that. Just because you lack motivation now doesn't mean that you're always going to lack motivation, that you can get better. It will take work, but you can get better by rewiring that automatic brain. So instead of don't feel like leading to not doing it, don't feel like now leads to I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm actually going to survive. Because what your automatic brain is actually interpreting right now is that don't feel like it is a protection. So if you don't feel like it, that must mean there must be danger around. There must be a threat. And because of that, I'm going to prevent you from wanting to do that. We need to show the automatic brain that just because we don't have motivation, in this instance, doesn't mean that there's a threat there. Doesn't mean that I'm in danger, that I can still do it and I can still survive. And the more you get that feedback loop of don't do it anyway, survive, the more it's going to rewire and reprogram your brain to understand this is not a threat if you don't want to do it. It's going to take 2, 3, 4, maybe even more weeks of constantly showing up, getting that routine, getting that feedback in before it becomes automatic. So again, it takes time. Please be patient with this. Along with any of these other mental skills, it takes time. One disciplined day, again, is a fluke to your brain. Weeks of showing up again and again, doing it when you don't want to do it. You sit down on the erg when you're tired, but you do it anyway. That's a pattern. And your automatic brain, your racing brain, needs that consistent data. It needs to be shown again and again that you survive, that you actually maybe can even thrive when you don't feel like showing up initially. We're not looking for perfection here. Doesn't mean every time you sit down on the erg, you do a practice on the water, you're going to have the best day and you're going to max out and you're going to have great numbers. It may not be that way. You may have some days where just surviving the workout is enough. That's a win. So we're not looking for perfection, we're looking for consistency. So you do have to listen to your body here. I am not advocating for you pushing yourself through injuries or through things where you shouldn't be practicing. Please don't misunderstand this. This is for the days where you just don't feel like it. Maybe you're a little tired, maybe you're a little sore from the workout, maybe you just have no motivation for the day for whatever reason. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about times where you are so sick you shouldn't be on the erg or you're injured and you shouldn't be on the erg. Listen to your body then. This is for the times where you probably know in the back of your head, you can keep going. You can actually do this. We can run into the plateau problem where we have 100% effort, but we're not seeing any improvement. And this is where a lot of times we lose motivation. Motivation comes to die at the plateau. Why do plateaus break motivation? We will all face plateaus at some point. We are not machines. We are not robots. Even though we like to use that language a lot in training, we are not like that. We are humans, and humans go up, and humans come down, and humans plateau. So when we get to a plateau, why does it break our motivation? That automatic racing brain just asks, is this worth it? I'm putting in all this effort. I'm expending all this energy. I'm not seeing any returns. This is bad. I should conserve effort. We should not do this thing. So effort and no visible reward, your brain wants to stop investing. It wants to stop giving you all of that energy because it's tiring. So we need to reframe it. Plateaus are not lack of achievement. It's invisible adaptation. The work is accumulating. You may not be seeing it now, and you may need to listen to your body. Maybe you need to switch your workouts. Maybe you need to take a little time off. Maybe you just need to dial it back. But plateaus are expected. And your automatic brain doesn't do well with delayed results, with delayed payoffs. It wants it now. It's like that little kid who wants whatever is in front of them. They want it right now. They don't want to wait. Your automatic brain doesn't like delayed gratification. It needs immediate feedback for those loops to work, for you to see progress. So what's the solution here then? You need to create feedback that you can control. So process metrics. This can be things like, did I hit my stroke rate in that workout? Did I execute what the workout was? Did I adapt it to where I am right now? Did I maintain my form in the last 500? Did I do a proper start? Whatever the goal of the practice was, did I do that thing? It's not always about times or meters. It can be about these other process, these techniques, these strategies, these skills that we need to still be good at our sport. That's what we can shift our attention to during these moments of plateaus. We aren't seeing our times go down or the meters increase. We can look at these other things because chances are you are accomplishing these things, or at least you can move your attention to these things and see positive benefits. The other thing you need to be focusing on are these values or these core principles of why you show up again and again. If you remember back to the arrows, in the way we want to look at motivation, or the way that we show up every day, values comes first, not motivation. So what are these values? These are your core principles. Answering questions like, why do I row? It shouldn't be, or at least the primary reason shouldn't be, not to get fast. That's a goal. That is perfectly valid, and a lot of us share that goal in rowing. That is fine. But that shouldn't be the only reason that you do this sport. This sport is a training sport. We spend so many hours, so many thousands of hours in training for every 1 hour, let's say, of competition. So if our whole goal here, or if our value is just going fast, we're going to set ourselves up for failure, because we can check that off the box. It's not something that can continue to supply that drive that we need to show up day in and day out. So here's an example. What does rowing give you? Examples could be discipline, growth, teamwork, pushing limits, connecting with other people, learning about yourself. These are the things that keep you coming back day in and day out on those long winter workouts when the sun is not up and maybe it's cold outside and you can't get on the water for another 2 months. Or maybe you can get on the water, but a race is so far away. This is what keeps you going. What does rowing give you? Answer that question. And if you can only think of getting fast or these numbers, then you need to do some soul searching, because that's not going to sustain you for a long, vibrant career that gives back to you. And hopefully that you'll want to continue doing rowing even after maybe the height of your competition is over. The commitment formula then, if we kind of put this together, it looks at naming the value. So I value, let's say, discipline. I really like what rowing gives me. This personally is something that is very valuable to me in rowing. When I started in college, I wasn't maybe a natural athlete, you might say, and rowing taught me discipline. It taught me how to structure my days, because I had to be structured. I didn't have time to do everything that I wanted to do, so I had to prioritize. And then on the things that I prioritized, I had to be able to make sure that I fit in certain times that I studied, and I still got in my workouts, and I still was able to do additional stretching and things like that. That helped give me discipline, and it taught me discipline. So once I name the value, I then name the action. How do I actually do this? Well, I will complete this piece at target, whatever target split that I have. Why do I do this? Because I value discipline, and discipline means showing up and doing the piece every single day when I say I'm going to do it. So then I notice the feelings and maybe the thoughts that come up when I'm doing the piece. I don't feel like doing this today. My mind's telling me to stop. My mind's telling me I'm not very fast today. I shouldn't do this. Why even bother? Just notice those. Take a step back. Notice like you're a third party. You're not actually having to listen to those thoughts and those feelings. Because remember, they're just information. You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to do what they tell you. It's just information. And you, the beauty is, get to pick what you want to listen to and what is valuable and what is not valuable. And then you choose. I can have this feeling, or I can have these thoughts and commit to my target, because I'm going to commit and do my action regardless of maybe the lack of quote unquote motivation that's going on inside. Some practical tips here. Reduce the friction. If you have a hard time, you want to reduce the friction of getting yourself out the door, into the boathouse, or to the gym. So pack your bag the night before. Have a non-negotiable schedule. This takes time and practice, but make sure that you have things hammered out. I'm going to come to practice at this time. I'm going to go to work or school at this time. I'm going to do my additional workout or additional stretching, whatever it is, at this time. I'm going to eat lunch at this time. Routines can help you with this by removing decision points. If I know I do the same 5 things before I go to practice, I do those every single day, my mind gets programmed into doing that. Our minds love patterns, and all routines are just patterns that we do day in and day out. So you have the same pattern in the morning, you have the same pattern in the evening. Sandwich your day with good, strong routines. Have a good warm-up routine. Have a good cool-down routine. Those help get your mind and your body ready. A warm-up doesn't just warm up your body, it warms up your brain, your mind for that piece. So if you do the same warm-up every single day, before you erg, before you do a 2K, before you get on the water, that's going to trigger your mind like, oh yeah, dial it in, we're about to go. Doesn't matter if I feel like it or not, this is what we do before. So warm-ups can have a powerful effect in getting you ready, even if you don't feel like it. So the 10-minute rule. On days you really don't want to do something, it's very hard. Commit to 10 minutes only, and then you can stop afterwards. Maybe you don't tell your coach this, but you can stop afterwards. So set your timer. Say, I'm gonna commit to doing this workout for 10 minutes, and if after 10 minutes I really don't want to do it, I will walk away. Because what usually happens is system 1, or the automatic racing brain, was about starting. So the resistance, that lack of motivation, was really about starting the routine, not actually doing it. So once you get going, it's much easier to continue. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. The hardest part is getting that snowball going, but once it's going, it picks up momentum, and the momentum keeps it going. My guess is 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than 99.9% of the time, if you start something, even if you give yourself the caveat of I'm only going to do this for 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to finish it at the end. A little side note, this can help you with pretty much anything in life that you have resistance to, whether it's homework, work, doing something like a chore you don't want to, or running an errand you don't want to. If you just say, I'm going to commit to this for 5 minutes and I can stop, chances are you're going to keep going through the end, because you realize as you get going, oh, I value this activity. This is actually giving me something in return. I'm going to keep doing it. Another practical tip here is having some accountability structures. Have a training partner so you can check in, coach you can check in with, make a public commitment. Maybe you post something online, on social media, you text your friends, your teammates, your roommates. That can really help. Why not routines? Why accountability helps is because you don't rely on motivation. You rely on not wanting to let someone else down, or you don't want somebody having to pester you about not doing your workout. And maybe you go with somebody. If this is like an optional type workout, or you're not part of a team, maybe you just go with somebody and you erg together, or you lift together, or you go out in a boat together. This is not weakness. This is strategy. If you were having a hard time, producing the amount of power that you need, you wouldn't view having to do squats as a weakness. You would see it as a tool to get yourself more powerful so you can pull the score that you want to. This is the same thing. Having an accountability structure is not weakness. It's just squats for your brain. It's giving you that extra support, what you need in order to thrive and survive. Some people really do well with accountability or routines or whatever it is. Other people don't. So just know yourself, but don't view it as a weakness if you need it. View it as a tool that gets you better, just like weightlifting or stretching or watching video gets you better physically. And this is all about the long game. A season is 8 to 10 months long, maybe even longer for some of you. You will not be motivated for all of it. I can guarantee you that. Rowing is too long. There is too much training and not enough racing for you to always be motivated 110% of the time. But the athletes who improve most, who are most successful, they're not the most talented. They're usually the ones that are just most consistent. They show up even when the motivation isn't there. So do the work regardless of how you feel, because you're not going to feel motivated the whole time. Just accept that, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. But have those accountability structures, have those routines, start programming your mind in different ways so you reduce the resistance, but don't be surprised that the resistance never fully goes away every single day. So let's wrap this up with some key ideas. Motivation is unreliable. Values are not. Why you do this is the most important thing, because that's what's going to keep you going. If you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning for a 5 a.m. practice, remembering why you do this. Discipline, growth, accountability, friendship, whatever it is, use that. Build systems that make consistency the default. Make it easier to be consistent than harder. Train your automatic racing brain to show up regardless of the feeling. You want to decouple feeling and thoughts from what you do. They're there as information, but they don't have to dictate. So if you are feeling really tired or really sick or you are injured, listen to that. But if it's just standard resistance, you don't have to listen to that because we've separated those. It's just information that we take or we leave, depending on how valuable and useful it is. Finally, this is a skill. It's not a personality trait. Most people were not born being consistent machines that they show up day in and day out. It's a skill that they practice. For some, it does come easier than others. Maybe you are somebody who needs a lot of systems in place. Maybe you're somebody who just needs to tell and remind yourself every once in a while. Nothing wrong with either of those. It's a spectrum. Just know where you are, be honest with yourself, and then put systems in place to help you get to where you want to go, because you can do it. You just need the support there. So your challenge for the week is write down one value that rowing for you connects with. Whether it's discipline, growth, personal growth, whatever it is. Make sure it's a value, not a goal. And then next time you don't feel like training, say this to yourself. I don't feel motivated and I value blank, so I'm going to do whatever the action is. I don't feel motivated and I value discipline, so I'm going to do this erg workout. It's fine to have both of those things happen at the same time. You can feel unmotivated and still show up because of that value. And just notice what happens. Reflect on it, write it down, see if you're making progress over time. And if you are, you're going to see results because you are putting in the meters, you're putting in the consistency. And you're going to learn very quickly what is just natural resistance and what are the real warning flags you should listen to when you are sick or you're injured and you do need to actually skip the practice or rest extra or dial it back, and what is just that resistance of, I don't want to do this because it's hard. Because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that and not a real warning flag. But you'll learn what those are a lot more once you have put in these systems into place. I hope this works for you. Best of luck on your training and keep at it.